if we're looking to manifest or consciously create something in our life, then sometimes the cards that show us what the problem is are the most useful cards in the spread, because they will highlight what you can do to improve your outcome. So I thought that I would go through some of these cards and just point out what the problem is and what the cards may be asking you to do. So I think the Eight of Swords is probably one of the most classic cards and maybe one of the easiest to understand. This is that you just don't intellectually think it's possible. And if you think something is impossible, it probably is. It is that simple. Our conscious mind cannot understand all the information that is being given to us, so it will experience the world through the filters that we create. This happened to me not that long ago. Somebody that I know doesn't like the way I work shamanically had commented on a group post that I'd made, and I read it and I messaged a friend and I said, oh God, what do I do about this? And my friend said, you need to read it again. And so I sat down and I read it carefully, and it was supporting me. It was saying, yeah, I get you, I agree with you. But I was so used to him disagreeing with me and being quite derogatory, I saw it through that filter. This is incredibly powerful, and if this is coming up and you're trying to consciously create something, you need to pay attention to this, because if you don't, we get to the Nine of Swords, and the Nine of Swords is literally when our mind makes a prison for us. When we can't see any way out of the hole we have dug for ourselves. These are both cards, the Suit of Swords, to do with your own mind. So try journaling. Try talking it through with a good friend. Just try listening to the things that you're saying and reframing it. If you're using words like impossible, disastrous, if you're catastrophizing, if you're building the walls up in your mind, listen to the words and start changing them. And as I've said in a different video, yet is a really powerful word. I haven't managed it yet. And finishing this little trio is the Devil. I often say, the devil's around when you start using excuses. I'd love to, but. And I think that's very much linked to the Eight of Swords there. I'd love to, but. I don't have the time. I don't have the money. I'm too old. I'm too young. There's always an excuse. The key with these three cards is to start focusing on your inner critic and start focusing on what is within your control. Of course, the Five of Cups can be sadness and grief and loss, and it can be all of those things. But if we're talking about consciously creating something, then this can be about not focusing on what has failed, because there always will be failures, but running with what could work. When we are consciously creating anything important, there will be things that don't work out. I can tell you, as running this business, there's been several things that I've tried that just haven't worked for whatever reason. And the trick is knowing when to let them go and leverage what is working well. So if you're getting this card and it doesn't feel like grief or sorrow, maybe it is about letting things go. And the Four of Cups is in some ways almost the opposite meaning. I know a lot of people think that maybe he's entitled and bored and, consciously rejecting good things. It can be all of those things. But remember, this cup is the Ace of Cups. It's coming out of the cloud hand, as it were. And he is sat on a little hillock with his back against a tree, and he could be meditating. His legs are crossed, and maybe, and I've seen this an awful lot, maybe he has 3 opportunities in front of him, but none of them are what he really wants to do. So maybe he's taken a step back and he's really consciously creating what he most wants. I have seen this card time and time again saying it's better to wait for what you really want than grasp the first thing that's offered to you. Or another way of thinking about this is if you've just had a huge meal, take a break before you have the pudding, because I guarantee you'll enjoy the pudding more. So this is the power of waiting for the right time. The Nine of Wands I often link to being hyper aware. That anxiety, it might be trauma, it might be PTSD, where you're overworking, you're over prepared, you're hyper vigilant, and you're missing the core sort of focus of what you're doing. So if you're getting this card, it might be important to rest, take a weekend off. Put your manifesting or your planning away and take a break and come back to it with fresh eyes and fresh energy. And the Seven of Cups is also being stuck, but in a different way, being caught by wanting to manifest too much at the same time. Almost being greedy with your manifesting and not allowing you to have a clear focus and a clear intent. I often think with the Seven of Cups, yes, you can have it all, but you can't necessarily have it all right now. The Moon, I think, is a really important card. Of course, there are many, many, many meanings for the Moon, but I'm really talking here about when we're consciously creating something in our life, or when we're using tarot as a manifesting or a planning tool. And then we need to remember that the Moon only reflects, it does not shine. A reflection is always distorted. The image that you see in the mirror is not the image that your family and friends see. You see a distorted image, even if it's only subtle. And if you don't believe me, then get a mirror and try and read a book in the mirror. So the Moon will often mean you haven't got it quite right yet, that you're not seeing things clearly. I know a lot of people love the Six of Cups. I can't help but think that there's something a little bit unsettling there, whether it's the red hoods and the links to sort of Little Red Riding Hood. It's the way that the buildings wrap around, leaving no way out of this card. Yes, it can be nostalgia, but it can also mean being trapped from your past. So if you're getting this card, check in what you are consciously creating. Are you reacting to something from your past? Are you doing something because something was taken away from you, or because you didn't do something? And check in and try and make sure that your desire is coming from a core, clear place, and it's not a reaction. I think the Ten of Wands, a bit like the Nine of Wands, is just about trying to do too much at once. And I would place the Ten of Swords there as well. Ten of Swords, Nine of Wands, Ten of Wands, need to take a break, basically. I do like the Seven of Swords, and it can be originality, blue sky thinking and taking a punt, but it can suggest that somebody is trying to gaslight you. It can suggest that somebody is trying to deliberately block what you're doing. So you really need to tune in and see, is this telling me to take a risk, or is it giving me a heads up that somebody is trying to gaslight me? And I left what I think is the most interesting card to the last, the Five of Pentacles. Now, my understanding of the Five of Pentacles is it can mean to labour, to travail, to work hard to achieve something. And when we look at this, we can see the Sixth Pentacle is just growing out of the very top. So yes, the Five of Pentacles can talk about lack of energy, lack of support, lack of money, but the Five of Pentacles can also, if the other cards indicate this, be a reminder that sometimes consciously creating something important to us takes hard work, and sometimes you just have to push through and make the magic happen.